Hello, it's me again. Today I wanted to share a dumpling recipe with you. It's our secret family recipe and it makes for really delicious, juicy, moist dumplings. So we're doing pork and shrimp today. There's green onion, there's ginger. I'll show you my favorite way to eat them as dumpling soup. So let's jump in. For this recipe, you're gonna need green onions, ground pork, wonton skins, cornstarch, shaoxing wine, which is a popular Chinese cooking wine, some salt, ground ginger, and peeled deveined shrimp. To prep the filling, you're going to chop up the green onions and dice up the shrimp. A lot of people like to finely chop the shrimp so that it mixes well with the ground pork, but my mom actually prefers to leave big chunks. You do you. So in a large bowl, I'm adding the chopped green onions in with the ground pork and adding a generous amount of salt and ground ginger, all to your taste. I'm adding a few spoonfuls of the shaoxing wine and then giving it a good mix. My mom says that adding in water helps make the wontons more moist, which makes sense once you think about it. You want the pork to sort of be the consistency of like soft serve ice cream. Now you're thinking about raw ground pork in a sugar cone, aren't you? We also add in a few dustings of cornstarch to bind it all together. Okay, now onto the shrimp. So we're adding salt, some more shaoxing wine, cornstarch, ground ginger, and giving that a good mix. Now onto the fun part. So here's a super easy way to wrap up your wontons. Notice that I have a very wet paper towel draped over the wonton skins. This helps make them more flexible and easier to fold. I'm taking a little bit of the pork filling and a few pieces of shrimp chunks and adding them to my wrapper. The trick is to do less filling than you think you'll need. Otherwise, the filling ends up leaking out and the wontons don't look as good. So we've got a small bowl of water on hand and I'm dipping 2 fingers in and tracing the sides of the wonton wrapper to get it ready to seal. And then folding it in half, be sure to squeeze out the air inside and crimp the edges together gently. Here's the slightly complicated part. I'm going to fold the top down over the part with the filling and then grab the bottom corners and then fold them back and around, sealing the sides together. Let's see this full process again. What we usually do is make a few wontons and cook them up so that you can gauge whether you need to add a little bit more salt or seasoning. That way you don't fold 100 wontons only to realize that they're all bland AF. Okay, so listen carefully, kids. To cook the wontons, you're going to boil some water. Once it's boiling, you're going to carefully drop in the wontons a few at a time, making sure they don't stick together. Then you're going to cover it up and let it come to a boil. Once it boils, you're going to add some cool water and cover it again. And you'll repeat this process around 3 times, and this ensures that the wontons cook properly. You'll know they're ready when they float to the surface. Now for a super simple, authentic wonton soup recipe, you're going to take some salted preserved radish, some seaweed, and some green onions. We also have some chili oil if you like a little bit of spice. I'm just adding all of this to a bowl with a little bit of salt, and then adding some hot water, and then you just add a few wontons in, and that's it. So delicious. Alternatively, I usually don't have these ingredients on hand at home in Chicago, so I'll just eat them plain, usually with a little bit of chili oil and maybe some soy sauce. It definitely makes sense to make a huge batch, so you can freeze them for later. Just separate them on a plate, stick them in the freezer for an hour until they become hard, and then you can just transfer them into a freezer-safe bag. Thank you for watching. Bye.